Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Cloudberry Kingdom by Pony Studios. This is a procedurally generated endless platformer with so much to do in it that it's basically become my new obsession. I'll be completely honest with you, this is nowhere near a first impressions video. I've already played this for many hours, and in fact I wouldn't physically be able to say anything other than that, considering I've actually made a video of this back when it was in its beta form nearly, I think it was roughly a year ago actually at this point. The game has gotten quite a bit of an overhaul in terms of graphics. Gameplay remains largely the same, but I think that's for the best. And we're just going to have a quick look through most of the features here, and hopefully by the end of it, if you're into like competitive hardcore platformers, this is definitely a sweet game for you. I have a feeling you're going to love it. But this is going to be available on Steam as of the 31st of July, so you're getting a little bit of an early look at it, I suppose, but there is a ton of footage of it available right now anyway, so, there is no shortage if you wanted to look into it. So there are controls, or rather, options controls and such. There are actual controls. And then we've got, let's go over here. Let's go to free play first. I think it's probably going to be the most compelling way to look at the game. We're going to start with this and move our way around to the other game modes. And I'm going to press A to join. I am using a 360 controller, as I so often do. This is my character that I've been customizing for quite a while here. I think he's probably my favorite combination. I can pick different color schemes for my main character's body. I'm going to stick with what I have, though. Excuse me, and we're going to go to beard. We can change the beard into a variety of different types of beards. I think it's kind of obvious. I don't know, I like this rugged one. The lumberjack is not bad either, but I prefer the clean-cut edge around the beard. It feels like a little nugget, like you could grab onto it or something. Anyway, we're going to use that. There's a variety of different hats. I've chosen to stick with the antlers. I think those suit me the best for whatever reason. I like this one too, the fire head, where you just can't even see the head. You can also choose to be basically completely invisible, where you can't even see your character, and I actually even did a run like that, so you may want to go check that out over on my channel. I actually made it through nearly 30 levels completely invisible. It's pretty wild. You can change your cape color, cape lining, and such. I mean, you get the idea. It's, wait, where did it... Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. I wanted it to match. I could make my cape completely disappear as well. So what is this mode? Well, you're probably wondering, you don't even know yet what the game is necessarily, but what is this mode? And we'll cover that, and then we'll play it for a minute, and you'll see what the game is about as well. So what we're doing here is we're actually able to set up a whole bunch of different predefined elements about the game itself, and the character, and the level generation, and all of those different weird archetypes that you see on the side scrolling by will make sense to you later on. Instead of customizing anything, though, we're just going to roll like this. These are all the different obstacles and enemies that you can face, and we can set these sliders to customize how many of a particular style we want to face off against. So in this mode, the only goal is get to the end of the level, and I assume collect as many coins as you can. That's a checkpoint right there. And, obviously try not to die. If you die, what are the consequences of death in this mode? You restart the level at the checkpoint. Alright, that's the only consequence. Each mode does have a pretty drastically different style of play, so there are large varieties worth of things to consider here. That was obviously a very easy level, but since the game is procedurally generated, we can go back and just keep playing levels similar to that if we want, or we can mix things up and make it super hard. I think what I should do at this point, let's reset, and let's just go to... Let's go to Saw Blades, aka Spiky Guys, and set that to its highest difficulty so you can see what this might look like. It's a pretty wild world here. So there are a number of tools that a player might have at their disposal to help you get through a situation like this when you find things are just far too hard to be able to comprehend on your own. In my case right now, I'm not sure I have access to those tools, but I'm going to try my best to not have to use them. That may be beyond my abilities. I'm actually somewhat proficient at this game. I think it's safe to say that I'm decent at it. That may or may not show in today's gameplay elements. In fact, I'm probably going to stop throwing bodies at this situation pretty soon. But what we can do here is we can watch the computer to see how it's done, because every level is solvable. Although it's procedurally generated, you can go through it. They are all guaranteed to be solvable, and that is how we would solve that level. Is there... Oh, there's more, isn't there? Oh, we can speed it up. seems to end there, even though it looks like there's a little bit beyond that. Let's also use this to show a path through the level, so we can basically just follow the bouncing ball, provided we are skilled enough to run along with it, which is sometimes harder than it looks, actually. I'm going to do my best, though. Alright, jump, run, duck, jump. Oh, got to jump again there. Takes a few tries, obviously, but, you know, you wouldn't be playing levels this hard to start. You would definitely ease your way in. And this is hard as hard gets. This is probably towards the end of the difficulty scale. I am confident, though, with enough practice, I would be able to beat this level. It's just going to take me a lot of tries. Right, onward, jump, jump again. Oh, I almost made it through that little tunnel there. So the idea being, as you play through some of the other game modes, like the arcade mode, you would be finding your way towards levels that are of this difficulty for various varieties of reasons, including, you know, having this many obstacles of one form or another, or many other obstacles or different challenges, such as maybe a wall is chasing you. I don't think you want to watch me do that one anymore. Let's do slow motion mode and see if I can keep up better with the ball. I may or may not be able to do this. Let's see. Oh, I gotta jump again there. I think I can. I think I can. I don't know what's the matter with me choosing to pick a level this difficult, but I do want to show off that this game does contain challenges that may not be seen in most other video games. Even amongst Super Meat Boy hardcore fans, I think you will find there is a good degree of difficulty here that you may not find elsewhere. Alright, we're done with this level. We've had enough. Let's jump back out to one of the other styles of gameplay. We can do story mode. I am some way through the story, actually. Alright, so there's the sea, the hills, the forest, the clouds, the cave, the castle, the masochist. Alright, so at the end, things are going to get real hectic. Let's see where we are in the hills. I think they're probably pretty hard already, but we'll see. Oh, and right, so there's all these different attributes that your character can have as well. In addition to just being able to jump, there are also, you know, sometimes you're a wheel, sometimes you're giant, sometimes you're tiny, sometimes you can double jump, sometimes you have a jetpack, sometimes you run into lasers endlessly for no reason. And it's quite difficult to actually control this wheel. It's got a lot of momentum to it. So there you go. So you got to do a little ditty like that. Those ghosts disappear. You know, you'll learn all the different various tropes along the way. The different blocks have different attributes. Of course, there's stuff like the lasers here. We've got these flies you have to bounce off of. We got these Super Mario Brothers spinning fire sticks. I don't know if they actually have like a formal name, but they're certainly pretty annoying sometimes. Oh, and you can't just crash into the fly either, because that's instant death. There's a lot of things that are instant death, but you will see as things progress, it gets really hectic, but also really rewarding if you're in a position to be able to handle the challenges that are being put before you. It's definitely not ideal to play as the wheel if you have the option of, unfortunately here I don't. So we're playing as the wheel for now. Things are going to change up. The arcade, or the story mode rather, will take us through a variety of different tropes like this. Like I said, we'll switch back and forth between things like this and the jetpack and the double jump and so on and so forth. That was a little lame because I basically got to that checkpoint and then botched it. So the developer, Pony Studios, was quite bright to promote their game by doing this little competition called the Infinity Cup, and they mailed out promo copies to a whole bunch of YouTubers and decided to put them to a bit of a death match in who could get through the escalation mode in this, which is essentially just ascending levels of, you know, more and more difficulty with a standard, you know, collect all the gems if you can, get the highest score possible, and try not to die. And you get so many lives, and you get another life every 25 gems you pick up. And basically, we've all been in this little tournament together, and I was right up there next to Proton John for a bit, and it looks like I've gotten dethroned as of the time of this recording. And, you know, second place anyway. And, you know, not a big deal, whatever, but I just have really enjoyed playing this game every night, and it's, like I said earlier, been a bit of an obsession of mine, trying to get a high score in escalation mode, which we will probably do, you know, one run of maybe, although that might make this episode crazy long. Maybe I'll just play it for a while. But I do like showing off the various different modes. In fact, let us go back out to the main menu, because you get the idea there. And then the arcade mode is actually one of my favorite areas. Oh man, alright, well, so there's an issue here because every single time I play this, it forgets that I've gotten to level 50, and then I gotta go back to this one. So you can pick all kinds of different varieties of character. I should probably start at the top here. We've got Jetman, who's got a jetpack. Bouncy, who is obviously bouncy. Spaceship, who, like you can see there, can fly. It makes for some very strange levels. Fat Bob, he's super big. I didn't actually realize his name was Bob. Tiny Bob, I've been calling him Standard Ed. Gravity Bob, who is kind of like Captain Viridian, who can flip upside down. We got a double jump, a wheelie, like you saw, rocket box, like you're in a minecart, and that is it. And then you can have it choose from random assortments. I think you used to be able to edit like the physics of things too, which I'm not sure if you can still do. It was kind of a cool touch. So there are obviously leaderboards and all kinds of little challenges that go on. I really do like the time trial mode, though. That one gives you kind of a fresh perspective on things, because in this mode, this is sort of like your standard mode that you would play most competitively, and then time trial mode, you just want to rush, and the gems are basically going to lengthen your timer. So, oh wow, that's really lame. I died on the 3rd level already. Alright, so let's restart that one. I have, on occasion, been able to reach, like, level 30-something and not die, so this is a little bit sad for me. But, you know, the levels are procedurally generated. It does beg the question, though, like, how do you run a competition between people who are all playing different levels? I think for the standards of a tournament, it probably would have made a little bit more sense, in my opinion anyway, to have a special mode that's all the same, or levels made from the same seeds, is what I'm trying to say, so every single time we play it, we could just be getting better. But then again, part of the challenge is being able to adapt to the infinite levels that are available within. So, you know, when you add that element, it does, I don't know, it's a pretty compelling idea, and the fact that this is a platformer that essentially you could play forever is a pretty neat thing to me, and especially when it's not even super expensive. I know there have been some gripes about certain elements of this game, and I guess I'm just going to run into that spike a bunch of times. But the biggest gripes have mostly been about things like the art style, or the controls, or the difficulty curve. I find the controls actually feel really tight, and as evidenced by the thing I mentioned earlier, the fact that I was able to run through a bunch of levels invisible, that means you have a real good sense of where your character's at on the screen, to be able to even do that at all. So, on top of it, the character doesn't really have a whole lot of inertia, so when you stop moving, you pretty much just stop fast in your tracks, which means when you get into some really, really complicated combos of jumping on crazy platform sequences, you're actually able to do it without too much fear of just flying off. And there are plenty of challenges that are still going to task you in that respect, so you don't have to worry about it not being hard enough by any means, as I've probably shown you already. But I think it does give you a certain degree of control that even a game like Meat Boy might have a little bit of a different take on, if that makes any sense. The idea behind Meat Boy, I mean, the controls are slippery. The dude's made of meat, so it's kind of obvious that's how things are going to go. This is a totally different flavor, though, when it comes to platforming, and I can't really say that there's a lot of other platforms that I would liken this to, or platformers that I would liken this to, that feel similarly. So I guess it's a love it or a hate it thing. I personally seem to fall into the love it camp, but a lot of my fellow YouTubers seem to go, you know, a bit split on that opinion. As far as the art style goes, I think this is a massive improvement over the original, just in pretty much every way. I mean, I don't mind the cartoonishness of it, the cartooniness rather, and the improvement over what it used to be is vast. So, I mean, if you go back and watch the old video, you'll see it looked sort of like, I don't want to actually say stick figures, because obviously it wasn't, but I mean, the art style was not nailed down yet. It didn't feel cohesive to me, and now it does. I mean, in fact, the backgrounds of this are quite pretty, I find. And although you may have differing opinions on the foregrounds, or the fact that there are blocks with little faces on them that look sort of like Snood, that's, I don't know, I think that's subjective. And levels like this are quite stunning, I think. This purple contrasted with the gold-orange look is very nice, and if you look out into the background, we've got multiple layers of parallaxing, and, you know, there's the customizability of being able to modify your character in all sorts of different ways. There's the cape with the physics and all sorts of different ridiculous setups that you're going to get into. There's a lot to this game. It's super deep, just in terms of how much progression and time you're going to need to spend to get really good at it. I've definitely spent over 10 hours, and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be in terms of skill yet. Once you start getting into the later levels, you have to be really strategic about your use of those little helper abilities, and also how you use your gems, because, yeah, you've also got this multiplier to contend with, and the fact that if you even miss a single gem, you no longer get your multiplier increased and get it reset to 0. So in order to get a really, really high score, you're going to really have to have a solid run with very few deaths, because deaths also reset your multiplier, and also get every single gem for many, many levels in a row. So it's an interesting challenge, and it's one that I feel amazingly addicted to. I have a feeling a lot of you guys might feel the same way, but you do have to have a certain penchant for pretty hardcore platformers. There's no doubt that the difficulty level here is way, way above a lot of games that are trying to offer similar things. In fact, I'm actually sort of hesitant to say that, because there aren't a lot of games that are trying to offer particularly similar things. It's a bit unique in that respect. I don't know of a lot of fully customizable, 2D randomly generated platformers, honestly. I can't really think of any, so perhaps a unique game style, and they have a very, very special algorithm that took them, I believe it was years to make, that, like I said earlier, that allows the computer to run through all of these levels and make sure that they are indeed solvable. And I will attest to it, they are all solvable. I have not run into one that isn't yet, although I have run into a few that are borderline impossible or require such nuanced, careful jumps that the odds of you getting them within like 25 lives are pretty slim. There are also certain moments where it will measure out, like to the pixel, the exact amount of space that you can jump and still live. So, I don't know, if you're a bit of a masochist like I tend to be, maybe that doesn't sound so bad. For those of you out there who are not particularly engaged with hyper-competitive platforming type games, again, particularly Super Meat Boy, you might not find that the most engaging experience. You may find it rather frustrating. There are some minor issues also with the hitboxes. I find the hitboxes to be oftentimes more generous than anything else, but I've heard other people complaining that they've been less so for them. I don't know. I don't really have a complaint in that respect, but I'm just sort of mirroring what I've heard others say. Obviously, I'm just going by my own opinion. I find the hitboxes to be, again, pretty generous, and I find that to be rather useful, because in a game this intense, you kind of could use every ally you can get, and if the game wants to forgive you for a couple bad moves, I'm all for it, honestly. You'll make enough mistakes with or without it, so I'd rather they err on the side of your favor, I suppose. I haven't spoken yet on the music. The music I find to be quite fantastic. The only complaint, if I have one, is just I wish there was more. But everything that's here, these tracks are all remarkably good at putting you into a bit of a trance as you play through dozens and dozens of levels. And the scaling on this is a bit long. If you want to go for very, very high scores, you're going to spend easily, I don't know, 20 minutes to an hour on each run. So get used to hearing some of the same songs for a while. Hopefully you don't mind, but like I said, it does tend to lure you into lull you into a trance, rather. And I find that that makes the time pass incredibly fast. I'm not sure how it is that I'm able to commentate over playing this game. You'd think it would require the utmost in concentration, and I suppose it does. Yet I've somehow found a way to partition my brain in such a manner that I'm able to play this, watch, and talk all at the same time while thinking of the next thing I want to say. It's a strange talent indeed. Maybe it's the one thing that I'm going to get from becoming a YouTuber. But it's a pretty cool feeling to be able to jump through some of these absolutely insane levels that you would think never in a million years would a person be able to steer an avatar through, and do it sometimes on your very first try in a sort of a parkour-like fashion. Oh, we got clouds on this level. I hate clouds. Ironic enough that they are in the title, and yet I'm not a huge fan. Clouds are actually, they have a weird physics system to them. You sort of sink through them, while at the same time you sort of can jump into them. It's hard to describe, but they have a tangible feeling to them as you move around in them. Alright, so we're starting to enter the realm of where levels would start to become a bit hard. Our run so far has been decidedly average. I've died a few times at moments when I probably shouldn't have. And I'm going to continue going until things start to get harder than I'm willing to bear. And it's a little bit unfortunate that I'm probably not going to be able to show you time trial mode unless I happen to traverse level 50, which is a pretty good chance that I will. So considering we've got 29 lives and we are on the level that we are. Alright, that last jump can sometimes be a bit of a doozy. Okay, that was very close but didn't quite make it. You do want to learn from each mistake, hopefully, although there are so many mistakes you can make, and oftentimes if it's just a matter of your finger being just a little bit off in the right spot or the wrong spot, you will end up having to make the same mistake a lot of times before you finally learn with your muscles how to correct that mistake. And then we've got these ghost blocks that will disappear. You know, they do add new elements in every so often. I missed a gem there, unfortunately. Later levels will include those falling blocks. These guys right here, they fall eventually, but there's also ones later on that will go up instead of down, which will often take you off guard. I keep grabbing more lives, which is great news, but it doesn't mean a whole lot if I don't get all the gems, because then I missed my combo counter, and yeah, there we go, back to 2 again. But yeah, every 20 levels, you do get that multiplier increase, which is going to help you build a higher base score as you go on. And having 30 lives is not anything to sneeze at. I mean, that definitely can get you out of a few jams, as well as being combined with the 3 little helper tools that I mentioned before. So if I wanted to right now, I could activate the Show a Path bouncing ball thingy, which is oftentimes the most useful of the 3 in my opinion, or if you use it in conjunction with the slow-mo, I think you're usually the best off. That was kind of a poor use of the bouncing ball. I really didn't need it, but I was just using it to show off the fact that it is quite useful. So 61K. My record right now is like 1,280,000 something, I believe. And we can probably take a look at the leaderboards after this. I am tempted to just bounce out of this level back to the menu to see if we can run one quick run through time trial mode, because I do like to show that one. It's one of the more entertaining ones, like I said. Oh, and the story mode, by the way, has fully orchestrated cutscenes, I should say rendered, not so much orchestrated, but they have a really cool like paper mache art style to them that I find quite pretty. But again, subjective, I suppose. Not everybody seems to like the art style. I don't see why not to like it. I mean, it seems quite charming to me, but to each his own, I suppose. Again, a little bit short on that jump, unfortunately. And again, I could just knock out through all my 27 lives right now if I wanted to. I don't think that's a real good idea, though. There we go, and bounce to there. As you can tell, the levels are going to get incredibly chaotic as you go forward. You'll be dealing with tiny little square blocks sometimes that have those flame pillars on them. We're also traversing moving lasers and saw blades and all kinds of junk. It just looks like just sheer insanity eventually. But if you revel in that sort of thing, I don't think you can really get this kind of experience anywhere else, especially in such a competitive environment. So, I mean, this is a perfect kind of game to grab if you got a bunch of friends and you want to all hang out and fight each other for supremacy in the Cloudberry Kingdom. But yeah, I was going to say, by the way, if you stand on that long enough, you can actually knock that spike ball out, because it is attached to that one block, so sometimes you got to be a little bit more strategic. The interesting thing about the way that these levels seem to be calculated is a lot of the time the emphasis is on running through the level as fast as you can, but sometimes they mix up the formula on you a little bit, and if you were to run straight through the level, sometimes they throw a little bit of an impediment at you towards the end of things, which I've definitely had happen a number of times. And hopefully today we will make it through this level at some point. We just have to avoid that last needle there and we're good to go. I am tempted to just continue this run, just in case it turns out to be somewhat decent. I don't feel like that's too possible, but, you know, we are level 62. Is not all that bad. Certainly I've done worse. In fact, the first time I played the escalation mode, I think my highest was like level 40-something, so I've also had, I think, a particularly easy run of levels to go through, which you might not think, considering my performance on them has been somewhat subpar. But had I been allocating all of my concentration, who knows where I'd be right now. Maybe I would have passed 1,000,000 by now. In fact, that is actually probably where I should be if I had a very good starting run. I would probably be around or just passing 1,000,000, I think, at this point. I've activated Itchy Nose mode, which is basically the worst mode known to man. Anybody who's ever played an intense competitive style game knows what that means. All of a sudden you'll find your nose will not stop itching no matter what you do. It's the worst thing. Alright, so let's just use our bouncy ball, see if that can help us through. Okay, missed some jewels already, no problem. Let's just continue on through here and to the end. Yep, so provided you can sight read these levels fairly quickly, you may get stuck on a level for a few lives, but hopefully not more than like 10. If you find yourself in that position, you should probably take a minute and get a breather, or, you know, you might be at your limit for the moment and maybe you need to do a little bit more practicing. But, you know, the cool thing about this style of game, you play it again after that. Each time you make a little bit of progress, well, usually anyway, and you get a little bit better, which is a good feeling. It's very rewarding, and that's what I think keeps bringing me back to this game, is that sense of satisfaction when I make a little bit more score progress, and I make my way further on in to the leaderboard. It's going to be pretty wild seeing when this game goes live to see how people handle... oh man, I just got to stop running into that thing. But I'm really interested in seeing how people handle the scoreboards once there are, you know, thousands of people competing instead of just the hundreds that there are at the moment in the pre-release status. So I have to say, like, I guess forgive me for playing this a little bit early, but at the same time, like I said before, like, there are, lots of people who have covered this game already. And it's only a few more days from the time of this going up to the time when you will be able to buy it for yourself. Oh, why do I keep doing that? I need to just jump straight ahead. It can definitely be a little bit of a frustrating game at times when you get stuck for too long, but a lot of the times I feel like you're really just, the one to blame. I did it again. I just can't seem to get this through my head that I need to not do that same move over and over again. Let's see how many times I keep making the same mistake. It's my lust for those gems, man. They just keep screwing me up. Alright, just wait right here. Everything's going to be cool. Now let's jump past. Not to the fly. That's where I make my mistake. I'm going to not touch that fly next time. You watch me do it. Watch me. I'm not going to touch it. Let's go forward and straight to the next platform. And that's all I needed to do this entire time. Well, I've burned through all of those lives. We got one of my favorite audio tracks now playing in the background. Look at all these lasers as we reach level 67. It's a pretty tricky challenge since they're all moving at different speeds in different directions with different, like, half-lives to them. Maybe half-lives are not the right word, but different start times and end times, I suppose. Alright, there we go. Had to concentrate a little. Okay, well, maybe not. I'll get it eventually. You'd think as long as you stand still, you're safe, but there's so many different lasers going off at different times, it's kind of hard to judge that out. Oh, great. Well, that was a little fast, and so was that. I think subconsciously I'm trying to burn through lives so I can get back out to the title screen. Please forgive me. I do want to show you how hard this game is, though. I'm not playing at my best by any means. Okay, there we go. There we go. And, well, still missed some gems, but at least we made it through that one. Alright, level 69. And we're right through that level. Sometimes you get a real good run where you don't have any deaths for quite a while. That's always a good feeling, especially when you're in the upper echelons of leveling. That was really silly. I should have timed that better. Wait a little bit there. Those ghosts can be a little tricky sometimes. They seem like they're basically out to mess you up most of the time. Alright, and level 71. Oh, excuse me. Let's grab all of them. Why not? So maybe a bit of a long episode today. Maybe, maybe that's something you'd like. Because I tend to do a lot of shorter ones for the last couple of weeks, it seems. I think the longest Indie Impressions episode we've still done at this point is going to be, what was it, Oregon Trail. That was just horrible. My finger just, like, didn't press jump when I went over that edge, which is just embarrassing. But what are you going to do? Alright, jumping through lasers. It's quite a beautiful time. Did you see that? I really enjoy when that happens. We got a new hero unlocked. I'm not sure exactly what that means yet, but I will look through the menus at some point and see about it. The pre-release version, unfortunately, seems to forget all the things that you did most of the time, which is a little frustrating, but, that's not the game's fault. It's just the pre-release version. So far, like, my impressions are almost entirely positive. There's just a few little things that might need little tweaks here and there. The difficulty progression is really the big thing for me. A lot of times you find you'll just hit a solid wall. Oh, and that's the end of that run. Alright, no problem. So we got to 893,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. Let's look back at here. So now we've got our leaderboards, and we can look through here real quickly. That's player level arcade plus story mode. My scores, you'll see me showing up at 80 right there, which is not so great in story mode. But Escalation Classic, I should have, 15th, which was way better a few days ago, but what are you going to do? That's the nature of a tournament. Let's do one Time Crisis Time Trial run and see if we can make it to the exit. Yep, we know. Get the gems, keep your numbers up. I think my record here is 50-something levels. So this is where you just want to go as fast as possible. Pretend you're Sonic the Hedgehog. And just try and be accurate in your jumps, because the more times you die, really, the more time you're just going to waste. There are only so many gems on each level. They don't tend to be quite as numerous as they were in the other escalation levels. And I guess to a certain degree we're also going for score, but the score is just going to keep going up the longer you go, so, you want to stay alive to keep your score going up. Not sure why they show the little dude, like, running on top of the levels in Score Attack, or in Time Trial, rather. And it's pretty much the same exit as it was in the other modes, and I still get what to do with it, but whatevers. So far, so good. Pretty solid run, I'd say. These levels are also decidedly much, much easier in contrast. I do quite like the diversity in environments and tile sets as well. I think the look of the game, it's pretty nice. I would like to see more, of course, and I think that these the art style of these backgrounds is conducive to wanting to see like an even larger variety, but, you know, there's enough here that it won't keep you bored or anything. Although I don't know that necessarily the individual landscape types really have any bearing on the types of obstacles you face predominantly. I mean, it feels like it should. Like, if you're here, yeah, there's lava on the ground, obviously. You're gonna probably have, like, fire enemies mostly, and, you know, in reverse for the ice stuff, but it seems like they're mostly variable. Like, you don't really have to have those as your primary enemies and obstacles. Well, I missed that one. There goes my score timer thingy. I should have just gone back and gotten it, because at this point, I don't really have that much to lose, right? Just run straight through that one. And it seems like you get just about enough in terms of jewels to carry you through each level without really putting you ahead. Like, the levels take about as much time as they do each time. Oh, and if you get the jewels, then when you go back, they're still gone, so that's kind of bad. You can't recollect them and just stay in stasis permanently. Or I should say in total stasis. Yuck, yuck. Alright, so, 10 more seconds, and now I'm getting hung up. You can't just press down and go through those as you might expect. Down and jump, you would think, would get you through those little girder thingies. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. You gotta go around them and edge around a little bit. I wish that wasn't the case as well. But no big deal. And, you know, another game this reminds me a little bit of in the sort of variable, like, homespun art style and craftsy sort of manner. I know this is the strangest thing I've ever said, but, like, it just invokes a little bit of Little Big Planet to me, which is a real happy thing. And maybe that's partially why I feel so compelled to like this game. It just reminds me of a happy day playing Little Big Planet and going through some incredibly wild and crazy platformer courses that never ever end. You know, you could play this game for the rest of your life. You will continue to find new variations. And the fact that you can customize them yourself, there's replays, there's all these little tools that you can use, like I said, augmentations, different styles of traversal through the levels. You know, there's a lot to do in this game, and I think it is definitely going to be a great value. Just even if it's just for the competition's sake, or if you just want to run through the story mode one time, I think there will be enough meat to carry this on for quite a while. So the only thing that we've yet to see is, like, will this have as much of a competitive community when the game is finally released as it did in the pre-release Infinity Cup series area of its time period of being in existence. I mean, it's not really in existence in this time, it's sort of pre-existence, but you know what I mean. And we're at level 52. I think I'm going for the record on Time Crisis mode. These levels feel substantially easier than the first time I did it. And I think we're pretty much a shoo-in for level 60, hopefully, unless I run into a particularly nasty challenge here. That was a little close. That one could be dangerous, but it's not. The levels are so bite-sized and short. You know, that's the other thing. You don't see an accurate representation. The story mode levels are much, much longer, and they have checkpoints and such. These are just, you know, pick up and play little mini levels, if anything. There we go, level 60. Multiplier increased. And now we're just going to go crazy with our score, apparently. And as soon as I lose, it's going to be the end. This could be a problem. No, okay, we're still good. Lasers, are you going to be an issue? No, you're good too. It's real easy to just keep playing this game. I mean, the levels go by so smoothly. You know, there's very little stopping you from just going on. And as soon as the run ends, you're like, man, I could have done better than that, and then you just start over. So, you know, it's got a good feeling to it that makes you just want to play it forever, and I think you couldn't really ask for much more out of a game. And it is nice and smooth. Despite how many enemies may end up on screen at one time, I have never really had any frame rate dips, with the exception of when the game changes music tracks for whatever reason. That seems to require a moment to think. But, you know, it's hopefully not bad enough that it requires you to you know, miss a jump or anything. or causes you to miss a jump. It rarely does that. I don't think I've had that experience more than maybe once or twice out of the many, many hours that I've played this. And I can't believe we're still going in level 74 now. I guess I'm shooting for 100 now? I don't know. We're in new record territory for this particular game mode. And myself. That was a bit of a messed up jump. Ghost, there we go. There is pressure-sensitive jumping, of course, if you couldn't figure that out by the way I've been moving around the landscape. This is going to be the end. Unless... oh, well, I almost picked up a gem and lasted just slightly longer. But level 77, and that's a real good score, I think, for this mode. How far am I actually in this? My scores, Time Crisis Classic, I am number 18. I'm sort of proud of that, because I just set that right now without even trying that hard. So that has been Cloudberry Kingdom. I definitely recommend you guys check it out. Requires player level of 250. I have a player level of 213. I guess that's combined between arcade, story, and free play or something like that. But like I said, there's a lot to see and do. So this game is going to keep you occupied for quite a while. Purchase link is not going to be available at the time of this going up quite yet, but I will, of course, update the video with that information once it is available for purchase, and it will be for purchase for quite a few different platforms. So if you're not primarily a PC gamer, there may be something out there for you, but I really only cover the PC stuff, so yeah, links will be for that. That is going to do it, though, for another episode of Indie Impressions. Hopefully you didn't mind a super long one this time, but I felt especially compelled to talk the crap out of this game because I just really, really like it. Again, your mileage may vary. I have a particular set of skills that help me with this type of game, and I don't know that everyone necessarily will find it to be their cup of tea, and if it's not, no harm done. But for those of you out there who are hankering for some sort of an endless platformer, I think there is nothing really to really come in parallel to it. I think it's really the best thing we got going right now. So yeah, check the game out. Go give it a try if you can. And, of course, if you don't mind, check out the description of this video for all my social media links. Check out my website, indie-impressions.com, so you can go check out all of the other stuff in the series. We're now over 450 episodes and running, a new one every single day, and I also have my other information like my Twitter handle and my, pretty much everything, actually. My Twitter handle, my Facebook, the website, it's all in there. So go check it out. I hope to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about this game, and be sure to check out my other video. And I know I said check out like 100,000 times in the closing here, but go look at that other video where I went through 29 levels completely invisible in Cloudberry Kingdom. Maybe I'll throw an annotation in for you guys to make the jump over real quick and easy. But I think it was a pretty exciting time, and it sort of made me feel like a Jedi, and it was very fun. So that is going to do it for another episode, guys. Make sure you come back again tomorrow. New ones are every single day, without exception. New indie games, surreal, original, artful, interesting, unique. That's what we're here to talk about, and any help that you guys can give me is much appreciated. So I will see you again tomorrow, and I hope you have a lovely night. Later!